Hello, and good morning. This is Richard Haight. I'm making this video as a response to a message that I received last week that I had not addressed yet, but I've gotten a little concerned about the individual from which the message came. So the message is from Agni, and I don't know where Agni is from, or if we are talking a male or female. So body. Let's see. She asks if I can make a YouTube. Oh, sorry, no, that's my message to her. She says, "Hello, I wanted to ask for your advice or just some thoughts regarding the situation when the person is stuck in, quote unquote, a void of meaninglessness." So this email is referring to a YouTube video which is titled "Your Two Biggest Fears," which I highly recommend you, if you're on the spiritual awakening path, that you watch that video, Your Two Biggest Fears, as that will reveal something fundamentally important to the experience of your life and your path that will relate to everyone. Whether you recognize that it relates now or not, at some point you will acknowledge it will be revealed to you how deep that message truly runs. So she says, this relates to your YouTube video, minute 16:10. I feel that I maybe hit this void of meaninglessness and I am stuck there for some time. I do not have, do you have some advice how to get unstuck? Just to give some context, I'm on the spiritual path for some time. I've read all of your books and some books of other authors on this matter. But now it's like I don't know who I am anymore. What do I do? Not to do? What to do and not to do with this life? So I just flow. Get up every day, go to work, do some other errands, go to sleep, and repeat the next day. It feels like I'm just patiently waiting for this life to end and getting more and more tired every day. So this is a very, very painful place to be. And now this person used the word flow, but that really isn't flow that this person is going through. This is mechanical. It's mechanical. And it is not indicative of awakening, the experience this person has had, although it is indicative of a place that one can get on the path of awakening due to a certain fundamental misunderstanding. And one can never be sure how the message is received by the reader. But if the person is going into, certainly my teachings, while working with other teachings that seem similar, I often fear that this can happen, this sort of situation can happen. Words are very, very important. And there are a lot of differences, very subtle differences between words. And what this person is experiencing is the effect of detachment. The effect of, now, again, that's a word that could mean different things to different people. And it's a word that has been used by many spiritual teachers. What we are seeking is detachment. We are seeking is detachment. But attachment can also be understood or be perceived as disengagement, as aloofness, as a kind of high and above, looking down upon the world, sort of snobby kind of feeling. Another misunderstanding that is common and can sneak in, although I make specific points about these things, being very careful. I don't expect everybody's going to understand every word of my book or even remember every word of my books or teachings. So it's very helpful to readdress these issues, and that's what this video is about. It's a warning. When we have an unconscious or conscious judgment against ego, a condemnation against ego, against the content of self, it can create this situation where one is in a feeling of emptiness, but it's not what I'm referring to as emptiness or silence, or it's almost like the difference between soda that has carbonation, or beer that has carbonation, and or that has fermentation, and soda that has lost its carbonation and it's just flat. And that flatness is a result of possibly suppressing the self, judging the self, going through meditation with that feeling without finding the inspiration within. There's going to be some place underneath of that, deeper than that, that is non-formed. It is without identity. But when one is in contact with that place, for lack of a better term, it's not really a place, but there is a wellspring of inspiration, of clarity, and guidance. And then it is not a detachment from life, as in the term, as we would use the term, like, for example, a disengagement. Oppositely, it is a full embrace, a full engagement in life while letting it pass. And therefore, we're not just mechanically going through our day almost as a habit pattern, waiting for this life to end. No, oppositely, this life right now has ultimate value. It's almost like we could say we're swimming through life. In order to swim, you have to reach out and engage the water, right? But as you're moving through the water, you are letting it pass. The awakening process is similar to that. What this person is experiencing is that soda without any carbonation, a flatness. That's what Agni is experiencing. I've been through that. It's a terrible place to be. It's depression is fundamentally what it is. It can lead to a profound depression the longer this happens. And it could lead to a judgment against life, as she says. She's waiting for this life. How'd she describe that? I feel like I'm just patiently waiting for this life to end and getting more and more tired every day. Exactly. So there's a tolerance there, and tolerance is running down. When that tolerance runs down, that patience will be gone. And then it will be a condemnation against this life. There will be suicidal thoughts that will arise. If the person has some ideology that prevents them from suicide, they may not actually kill themselves, but spiritually they're dead inside, completely hollowed out. And this is not what I'm referring to as spiritual awakening at all, although this is a place that I had gotten to due to certain misunderstanding, a judgment against the self, the idea of detachment. Now, it's very important to understand the words that the master of the past used as detachment. What that person meant, that word was coming from a totally different perspective, paradigm on life. It was a non-personal perspective or paradigm on life, but that was fully engaged in all likelihood in life. But when it's heard or read by the mind, by a person who's still caught in identity, by a person who's still identified with the body as this being me, it becomes a disengagement. It becomes a judgment against engagement in life. Then all of the suds of the beer are gone. All of the spice of life is gone. The inspiration can't come through because there's a judgment against life itself, a judgment against the body itself. So this person is actually not transcended mind. What they've done is suppressed mind, or suppress certain aspects of, most likely, suppressed emotion. It's a suppressed emotion. And the result will be a kind of existential nihilism, that existence itself is wrong. And we begin to ache for death. We begin to ache for death. So this is, I don't want to say it's a misstep, because maybe this person needs to go through this. I needed to go through this. So for me, having gone through this, I understand what are the causes of this. Now, for each person, this very specific areas of their life, the very specific emotions or ideology that causes it can vary. So I recommended to Agni that we set up a public mentoring so we can actually discuss this, and then hopefully that it would be of service to other people. Or if she was, she, I don't know, was unwilling to or not wanted to do this publicly, we could do it privately. This person may benefit from mentoring to get through this. I needed to be mentored to get through this. I was utterly stuck, and the words of one of my mentors, the guidance of one of my mentors, helped me through this. So, Agni, just recognize that what you're experiencing is not a result of awakening. It's a result of a certain kind of ideology, a certain kind of idea that has been valued, And the result is a certain kind of idea, which is an idea against physicality, an idea against emotion, maybe an idea against thought. We cannot be against these things. We only explore these with a childlike joy. It's an exploration with joy. And if joy is not a part of it, we're talking about something fundamentally different. We're not talking about awakening. But just also be aware that these little side paths that we go on is as much suffering as they bring, and they can bring a lot of suffering. Little misunderstandings can bring great suffering and change the chemistry of the brain. We can also understand that we can learn from those and that we can turn it around. So the first thing for anybody who's stuck in the void, in meaninglessness, is to start recognizing the narratives. There's certain words, certain sentences going on in the brain. In her case, that life is meaningless, that she's waiting for this life to end, and that she's growing more tired every day. There's a certain narratives that are coming from that place. That is mind. That is mind. That's your first hint. So this person has not transcended mind. And this person is identified, her sense of who she is identified with those statements. And so that's an indicative of being imprisoned in mind while suppressing emotion. Yet there's great suffering, clearly. So it's not that all emotion has been suppressed, only that which was positive, quote unquote, that which felt pleasant was suppressed. But the negative, that's still there. So we've actually gone into a place that is very unhealthy for the body. The awakening process will be oppositely very healthy for the body. So the solution to this is to start tuning, start paying attention to simple beauties. And your brain chemistry is now going to be a bit off. So this is going to take some time and effort to pay attention. The problem is when one is in a severe enough level of depression, motivation, the desire to do anything starts to wane, and it can be very difficult to pull oneself out of this. So the first thing, again, is to remember is if you need help getting pulled out of this, you need to put yourself around inspired people. If it comes to a point where one is seriously contemplating suicide, if you need to be on antidepressants for a time to pull yourself out of it, everybody will respond differently to them. And they may not work for everybody, but if you need to for a time, might consider opening up to that possibility, because it would be better than suicide, would it not? just you would open up to it with the intention of weaning yourself off of it. There are other ways powerful ways to overcome these severe states of depression, which ultimately come from having spiritual or mystical experiences. And this isn't something I can recommend, but I can say it's a possibility depending on what you feel drawn to. Of course, meditation, but if you're not going to do the meditation, we need to know what you're going to do. You need to be able to actually make a decision and follow through on what you're going to do. If you're going to meditate and you're stuck in this feeling of meaninglessness, then I highly recommend you get the book Experience, Meditation Unbound, and you practice the appreciation meditation in there. Another possibility is ayahuasca. If you are not going to be able to, if you're simply not going to meditate, because we need to know what you're going to do. Another option that you may be willing to do, we do not know, is an ayahuasca experience or a psilocybin mushroom experience, sufficient to bring on a mystical experience that will break this pattern. Because what's happened is you are actually not seeing life. You're only seeing the surface. You're only seeing the surface of life, and which is going to be dull. We need to see the depth of it, to experience the depth of it, the fullness of it. And in that attentiveness and experiencing the fullness of it, this sort of depression can break. But if you need a help from a plant and you feel drawn to that, that's an option. If you're willing to do meditation, then do that. Do what you're willing to do. And you're going to go through these options and question yourself, what am I actually going to do? And you're going to follow through on it. If you need to take on a mentor, take on a mentor. Prayer can help. Prayer can help if you're inclined to prayer. But the type of prayer has to be an unconditioned prayer. We want to, when we're saying the words, it should not be a pleading. You're not going to make a deal with God or a deal with isness, because that level of consciousness, whatever it is, that most fundamental level of consciousness, doesn't make deals. It would be a childish mentality to come into it trying to make deals. It's a selfish, not childish, a selfish mentality. So what you would do, if there's any prayer, it's the prayer to connect with that space at the level of feeling, to connect with whatever is most fundamental at the level of feeling. And when you're uttering those words, you feel those words. And while feeling those words, you feel them in the body, and you notice where you feel in the body. Feeling is important because we're losing feeling. The abyss is the loss of feeling. Aside from fear, aside from meaninglessness, we want feeling is that tether. And it tethers through the human being, through all of life, to the most fundamental. Feeling is there. We've just been blinded to it. And so you're going to feel that prayer in the body. When you utter it from the vibrations of the body itself. When you're uttering it, you feel the words in the body. And you might start to notice, it might even be small at first, a kind of inspiration, a kind of energy in the body. Allow attention to waft that feeling, to bring that feeling throughout the body. Share it with everything. And you're going to have to do this every day. If it's prayer, it's meditation, you need to bring that inspiration through the body. Allow it to travel through all the cells and into the space around you. You're creating an atmosphere, correcting an atmosphere, because right now the atmosphere around your body would be flat. It's like a flat tire. So this is a message for Agni, but for anybody who's stuck in meaninglessness. Just recognize that the stuckness and meaninglessness is a result of a certain idea, a certain feeling that we had, a certain condemnation against life. There's a certain malice. There's a certain malice that's in the body that you might not have noticed up till now. If you pay attention, you might notice by malice, I mean condemnation. It's a kind of malice. And that needs to be released. We can't awaken while having these ideologies and having these ideas against emotion, against thought. Instead, we want to transcend them, not to kill them. We're looking for the transparent self. The transparent self is not the same as the personal self. It's like the human being has become a transparency in a way. And from that transparency shines the energy of being, the energy that is most fundamental. Energy is not a really good term for it, but we'll call it that for now. And it is inspiration. And if there's no inspiration there, we're talking about, there's been the words that are coming out of my mouth that are being received by the mind, they're not the same as what has come out of my mouth. It's like ships passing in the night. There's the assumption that there's an understanding, but there's been a misunderstanding. This is the disadvantage of words, which is why meditation is very, very important. And the exploration, the experience, the direct experience and exploration is absolutely vital to the awakening. The words are only a pointer, but the work has to be done by the individual. And it has to be done joyfully. It has to be entered into, not from a place of aloofness, not from a place of condemnation, not from a place of distance, but like swimming through water, fully embracing and letting it pass. You've embraced that water as you're swimming. You can't move otherwise. Life is just like that. Awakening is just like that. So thank you, Agni, for contacting me. I hope this message gets to you. I understand in the space you're at. I did reply to your email originally, hoping to hear back from you. But as it's been a few days, I've gotten a bit concerned that you might be in such a place of depression that the motivation even to reply is no longer there. So I will send this, I will link this YouTube video into an email and send that out to you right away, and I hope you get it. And anybody else who's stuck in meaninglessness, there is a way to transcend that. There is a way to transcend that. But the first thing to be aware of is the attitude which brought us there. Because fundamentally, the awakening process is about attitude. Attitude that we take to every moment of life as it arises. Attitude that we take towards the sense of self. Attitude that we take to the possibility of the innocence experience. There's nothing that attitude does not apply to. And so ultimately we're working with correcting and refining attitude. Have a great day. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye-bye. Oh, if people have been asking how to donate, you can go to my website, www.richardhaight.net, and on my blog podcast link, there's a donation button. You can donate. I will make a link to it here on the YouTube video down below. Please don't forget to register. And if you find that this video helps you in any small way and you would like to support these videos and what I'm doing and help to get it out to the world, a donation would be a great way. Please share these videos with people who are in need, and please ask questions. It's your questions that fuel this entire process. Without the question, the answer cannot arise. Take care. Bye-bye.